Welcome back. Sorry. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Beth Ekman. I'm with CCF Industries. I've been with CCF for about 20 years now. And just a little background on us. The owner, Ken Clifton, founded the company in 1982. He started as Clifton Custom Furniture in his grandma's garage. In 1995, he found his niche with custom dovetail drawer boxes. So throughout the years that I've been there, we've gone through our obstacles, our bumps in the road. And in 2014, we had a total loss of our 13,000 square feet building, equipment, the truck that we parked in the garage. So just a total loss. And we rebuilt. It took us about a year and a half, in which time we outsourced our customers' orders through our competitors. So we had good relationships with those, and so they helped us out. And coming back a year and a half later, we only lost one employee. Our employees were off that entire year and a half, so that's a shout out for good insurance policies. So we encourage you to use your drawer boxes as a selling point, not just included in your price. We like to show you how you can turn a profit with those, as a profit center. We have evolved into a total drawer solution. So we will supply drawers, rollouts, inserts. We basically, if you design it, we'll build it. We have a lot of specialty drawer boxes. And by outsourcing with us, that's one less thing you'll have to worry about, and that'll keep you up at night. With us, it's not about the sell, it is about the experience. And I'm sure there are some here that can attest to that are customers of ours. We do appreciate you, and if I haven't been able to talk to you, or if there's anything that I can help you with in the solutions of that line, just let me know. So, I do want to thank Paul for the information. That was very informative and a lot of takeaway. And just as Paul has clearly found his niche, and with custom conference tables, I have the privilege to introduce two presenters, not only because they are women owned, but they have also found their niche on the same topic. So I'm going to introduce to you Lois Snyder and Kelly Victor-Burke. Both of these women own their companies. Lois's company is Periwinklers in Tarpon Springs, Florida. She's evolved over the years to specialize on boutique commercial projects. She thoroughly enjoys the ambience of driven, sometimes artsy work. Lois is active on the CMA's board of directors, and she's also a member, and she has taken advantage of the standards and certification program through the Architectural Woodwork Institute. Kelly, her company, Burke Architectural Millwork, is fairly new, 7 years, and with her husband and business partner, Barry, have already made a big impact in the industry. They're located in Livonia, Michigan. Their clients are primarily commercial, but their latest venture targets the high-end residential market and closets and organized storage. They'll launch in a few months, and in addition, out of the need for skilled employees, Kelly has created a woodworking apprenticeship that has been approved by the Department of Labor. So join me in welcoming Lois and Kelly to the stage.
Get up, girl. Is this when I start cooking?
Yep. Hi, everyone.
Okay, that was bad. Hi, everyone. Hey. Yes, all right. Welcome. So Lois and I are going to be talking, I think it's still morning, about finding your niche. So this is what we were going to present to you, all of these things. But for time reasons, we decided that we're going to cut out almost all of the part about you, I'm afraid. So that means I will not be giving you a quiz at the end, so that's a good relief for you. But what we would like to do is spend our time talking about our own journeys of finding our niche. And for my part, just so that you have some takeaways, I want to talk to you about the benefits of apprenticeships and how it can help you in your recruitment and retention of employees, and also talk about getting grants. So, first of all, we are going to have, you turn the slide, Lois. Keep turning, there we go. So we're gonna need some help from Gary LeBlanc. Gary, there you are, from Richelieu. Gary, will you please set the timer for 10 minutes? Do you think, should we give Lois 10 minutes or 12 minutes to tell her journey? All right, let's give her 12 minutes. Gary.
All right, well, I'd like to start with where I am today so you can see my crazy story. Right now we are bidding custom restaurants, and our average bid or job is somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million. And if you had asked me 5 years ago if I'd be here today and not bidding against anyone, where they're just asking me for my price and we're going with it, I'd say, you're crazy. Because I just couldn't imagine being here today. And another thing, that commercial work is not, for me, years ago I believed that, and I heard this, like, oh, commercial work, they don't pay, this and that, how do you get your money? I've established a relationship with these people, and I get what I ask for. So it can be done, and I'm here to show you that that's true. And also, I'm not like the other guys, and it's taken me forever to even have the nerve to do the work that I do today. So anyway, so I was first recognized as a builder by my 4th grade teacher. Everything I did was mediocre, mediocre, mediocre. And at the end, she said, however, Lois is the leader of all of our building projects. So that was pretty funny. My dad saved that report card. I can show you. Anyway, so I started drafting when I was in middle school, you know, with the other guys. In high school, I continued to do drafting, and I thought, well, I want to go to school for architecture. I got into Boston University. I went there, I walked into the classroom, and I saw all those people. You could hear a pin drop, and I said, I don't know how I knew, but this is not for me. I can't sit still. I'm not going to do that. So I ended up going to art school in SUNY College at New Paltz, and they started a BFA program in furniture making, so I started with the first class with about 80 people. And by the time I graduated, there were only a few of us left, and I was the first graduate from that program. In the middle of that time, I was lucky enough to have a year-long apprenticeship in a 200,000 square foot, turn-of-the-century factory in Cleveland, Ohio. And I was given a little Polaroid, and then I had to make all the jigs and fixtures. First I made a prototype, and then all the jigs and fixtures to get it through the whole factory. And I think that that and my art education really set me up for everything that I have ever done. So I graduated from college. I moved to Brooklyn, New York. I rented an abandoned building. I had a hose and an extension cord and a table saw, and that's really where I began. We hired some Russian mafia guys, it turns out, to set up our electric, and they stole our money. So it's been a kind of a tough road. Anyway, so I had Benedict Snyder Designs. At one point, I had 3 other partners, and we had 20 people, and then I moved on. Anyway, so I ended up moving to Tampa, Florida, and in Tampa, there aren't a lot of guys like me. Oh, so that picture there is me in 1987 standing outside of my shop in Brooklyn. And I was always kind of on the artsy side. I had crazy hair. No one ever cared about what I looked like. They didn't care much, just about the work. And as Paul says, craftsmanship. And it's always been for me about the craftsmanship. And I think that's you know, if we're doing nothing else, and, you know, I don't set my standards by anyone else's, so it's never, someone else's good enough is not my good enough. And that's something that I got to keep doing anyway. Obviously, I'm nervous. So for 20 or more years, I did basically nothing but residential work. I worked directly with my clients. I felt more comfortable, I think, because I was doing kitchens. I thought it was romantic, you know, designing, working with my women clients, and I guess that was a real comfort zone for me, but it gave me the ability to build my skills and my reputation. And then eventually one of the clients that I worked for, they asked me to bid a restaurant. And so we did this restaurant, and so there it was in my portfolio. Not long after that, one of my good friends went to work for a construction company in St. Petersburg, and they specialized in restaurants. And so we did a coffee shop, then we did a brewery, then we did another coffee shop, and then just recently we did a restaurant on the Beach Drive, and now I can't even keep up with what's happening. I think one of the things, though, is I learned, like, I can't be like the other guys. I didn't want to run a big crew. I don't want to make white kitchens anymore. And so I kind of fell into where I am today, believe it or not. You know, I didn't have a business plan. I didn't know I was going to be here. You know, I just didn't. And I don't know if this is like good advice or bad advice, but it's just my story. One thing I could say, though, I never, you know, yeah, I happen to be a woman. This is the vehicle I was given. I feel like I'm a freak because there's very few, you know, there aren't guys like me. And, you know, even today when I go to a trade show, I have to take my husband because no one talks to me. You know, and it's like, do I look like eye candy? Because I'm missing it. You know, like, this is the way I show up. But even today, after 30 years, you know, my husband, he wears a pink shirt, he's 6'4", and they immediately start talking to him, and I'm going to tell you what he says. He says, "I'm her penis." And it's sad but true, you know. I mean, it is unbelievable. And as far as, you know, a lot of things, I loved interviewing Paul, and I love talking to people because it makes me feel like, you know, because I'm in a vacuum in my shop, right? You go to work, you work with a bunch of guys, whoever it is, and you're in a vacuum, and you just feel like you're crazy, you're alone. And so when I hear people say, you know, like Ken or somebody, man, I'm tired, I don't want to do this. Oh, you too? You know, like, so that's kind of cool. I like hiring young people. I love training. I love teaching. I prefer young people. For me, I don't know what it is. I guess it's the guy's going to rescue you. I'm not going to be, don't rescue me. Stop trying to rescue me because I don't need it or I don't want it. So that's kind of been a big thing for me. So, you know, who works for me, who doesn't. I find younger people work for me. I like people who have an art background like me because they can see and they appreciate it, you know, they touch it, they feel it, they get excited about it. The other thing I like is people who play it on sports teams because they understand what it means to be a dedicated member of a sports team. So really, before I ever realized that I had this talent, I was a jock. So it's kind of, and I think that's about all I have.
Wait, how much time does she have?
She has 4 minutes.
You have 4 minutes. Keep going, Lois. Tell us about your platitudes. What are the things that keep you going through your day?
Well, one of the big ones that I think I've always lived by is you got to have dreams in order for dreams to come true. And, you know, I've had a lot of people kind of step on me like, well, why would anybody, you know, want you to do this or that or whatever? And, you know, so that's kind of, you know, and it could be your own family saying that to you. So you kind of have to have blinders and just, you know, follow your gut. But I could say, like, I didn't really know, you know, like right now on, you know, Wednesday, we have a meeting coming up. It's $1 million, one restaurant, you know, and it's really high end. And, you know, no one bidding against me. Like, that is a dream I couldn't even have imagined. And I say, well, why didn't I do that 20 years ago? Well, obviously I wasn't ready. You know, it's taken me all my life to get here. I'm never going to quit. What would I do? What are you going to do, Paul? Ken, right? Ken's trying to quit. I'm not going to quit. Go ahead.
Do you just do cabinets, or are you doing full construction?
I barely make cabinets, oddly enough. I bought my CNC. Well, I make like bars, and recently the restaurant we just did, there were lots of arch doorways and so on. So I made the bucks on the CNC, and I had them just leave squares, and then we put our bucks in place, and that way when we go back to do the trim, it's absolutely perfect. So we build the bars, the die walls, all the woodworking, but also I bring the metalworking, we'll bring the glass. I think because of my BFA, so I studied, I had photography, printmaking, jewelry making, casting, welding.
Just very creative stuff.
Yeah, very creative. And my teacher, we only had one teacher when the program started. His background was industrial design, so he had gone to Pratt, and he knew nothing about woodworking. If I had not worked in that factory for a year, I don't know where I would be. My boss was a German-trained chairmaker. We had trains that brought the wood in. We had our own kilns, hydraulic bending machines. I mean, it was unbelievable. And those are the skills that I have today.
Very cool.
So another one of my platitudes: answer the phone. Seems simple, but one of the things, when somebody calls me, I'm going to show up. Those couple of people that we really work for, I do a lot of things that you guys probably wouldn't, but the trust that I have from them and with each other, a lot of times I get paid before I think I should. So that idea that commercial doesn't pay is crazy. I mean, I get it because I was raised with that, but also the work that I'm doing today, I don't think it existed 20 years ago. So St. Petersburg, Florida, it's on fire. You look in the sky, there's 10 cranes. They're building like crazy. The $7 million condos, many stacked in a row. Those people come down out of their condos, they want something to eat. And so it used to be the most important thing when you went to a restaurant was service and food. Now it's the environment and then the food and the service. So this is what I'm doing. And obviously my market doesn't exist in other places. So the fact that I moved to Tampa, Florida because I loved windsurfing, and then found out there weren't a lot of guys like me, and I come from New England, with a deep history and tradition that I grew up with, that I love. It's crazy. So there was no big plan, and I know I shouldn't be saying that to everyone, but it just, shit happens. Oops.
Is it time? Hey, Lois, you're awesome.
Thank you.
She is. She's my friend. You want me to go?
Your turn.
All right. So I love it that Lois said that she had no plan, because here I am. I can tell you I'm 60. I have no plan. But I can tell you that if you just give yourself over to being open to possibilities and staying curious, it's amazing what life can do for you. So from 1990 until 2020, I was a professor of geography in charge of geotourism and historic preservation. So that's where I get the wood, everybody, right? But I happened to be married to my husband, who's my business partner, and he's not here because he's actually working at the work, right? Because I work on the business, that's where I spend my time. So I married him. I had no clue really what he did. He went to work long hours for other people. He always came home and he would always be thinking about why it is that there would be projects that would be being in the shop that would ultimately go out and then come back because things weren't right. And he's constantly thinking about, like, if they change this and this and this. So I knew that his mind wasn't totally focused on me, sadly. At the same time, in my line of work at the university, I happened to get into a group of curriculum development And we were tasked with trying to figure out what is it that people needed to be successful in their programs of study. So I would come home and I would talk to my husband about what he did at his work. And I'd say, you know, I'm fascinated by the fact that so much math is going on, so much engineering, right? How much architecture is going on, and science, technology, engineering, math. And I'm like, that's called STEM. He's like, okay, that's nice. And I'm like, so tell me, you know, he'd tell me stories about how a new person would start. And at his company that he worked for, they would throw that person in, and if any other person went and helped that person, they'd both get fired. I'm not kidding you. I'm like, what? What kind of barbaric place do you work? And then we had this opportunity to actually try to buy into that same barbaric place. Through a myriad of reasons that became very clear that that wasn't a right fit for us, including one where the owner literally told my husband, I don't want your wife coming anywhere near here because then my wife would want to be here, and I can't have that. So we decided to start Burke Architectural Millwork. We said, let's do it our way. Let's be the masters of our own domain. And for me, he's the craftsman. He is amazing. Seriously, I tell people he's the smartest person I know. And it's true. I just respect him so much. So when we started our company, we said, all right, so I am akin to Paul here. If you go scuba diving with me, any certified divers, I'm your safety person. I'm keeping track of how much downtime, how much we're gonna have safety stop. You know, I'm keeping my eyes on you. Likewise, in the business, for me, what I was so fascinated about and how I thought I could contribute was to bring awareness to the great careers in this industry. Because I totally am passionate about what everyone does here. Everyone, I'm curious. I love what you all do, including what I do too. And so our mission, which I believe that if you have a right mission and you live by it, it gives you the basis for you to wake up in the morning and do your job until whatever time it is that you get home. Crafting the finest architectural millwork and actively engaging in workforce development and wood manufacturing. That's my husband, the craftsman, and the other part is me. Because when I put it in our mission that we want to be actively supporting workforce development, it's not just for Burke Architectural Millwork, it's for everybody else, because we're high-minded and we think, hello, if we are successful, we all want to be successful as an industry as a whole. So that's how we started. In year 2, we had a young man who came to us. He worked for us part-time. He was going to the local community college, and he wanted to go to the university after he finished his basic studies and become a mechanical engineer. I got him in the state of Michigan going pre-apprenticeship program, and that helped pay for a lot of his college courses, which were engineering courses. And then he came to us after and he said, I love working for you. I'll stay if you put me in a registered apprenticeship. What are you guys going to do now? Well, I got myself going and tried to figure out what apprenticeship I was going to put him in, right? So I had all of these connections. And what I discovered is the apprenticeships in the book were not good enough for that employee. Not good enough for what I needed at my company, which is we need multi-skilled workers that can do a variety of activities and become leaders in our company. And so someone told me, hey, Kelly, you want to whisper and say, hey, Kelly, you can actually write one.
Hey, Kelly, you write one.
Yes, and so they said, but there's a caveat. If you write an apprenticeship, it has to be not only for Burke Architectural Millwork, it has to be for all of your companies as well. So I said, okay, I'll do it. Took me 3 years to do it, but it gave me the opportunity to go out. And my husband's like, where in the world are you? I'm like, oh, I'm going to this shop and I'm interviewing not only the owners of Paul's company, but Paul is nice enough to let me interview all his employees too. And then I'm going to Ken's shop and I get to talk to you and find out what is it, if we're writing this apprenticeship for the 21st century, Ken, what is it that would work for you? And then let me talk to your employees. It's the part where I get to talk to employees that I learn the most. And as a result, it is the Woodwork Manufacturing Specialist Apprenticeship. And it is a combination of CAD, CAM, right? Together with CNC, or let's just face it, we call it in this world, we call it mechatronics. All of your CNCs, your edge banders, your 4.0 technologies, okay? Together with cabinet building and panel processing, together with finishing, which is just chemistry, right? And also it includes estimating and project management. In 4 years is competency-based. If you put an employee, either new or incumbent employee, in this apprenticeship, you get money. You get money. You're all going to hire people, am I right? Wouldn't you like somebody to give you money because you've hired someone? And then that employee also gets money. Every apprenticeship has two parts. On-the-job training, which is the money that comes to you is to defray those costs, and the other is required technical instruction, which can come from a variety of different places. Like if you have a Styles machine, Styles University, that curriculum can be part of your apprentice's learning. It can also be that they go to the community college and they can learn the fundamentals and they can learn the CNC. And so this has been established and it's available to all of you. And in my journey, this has led me to all of you and getting to know all of you, because I am so, again, this is the best bunch of people. We all are passionate about what we do. And it means that organizations like the CMA, where people not only help you, and they are not your competition, it's that thing, co-opetition, right? We all want to do better. You can develop friendships. You can also be on Ken's podcast with him, or I was on the Woodworking Network. I love them. That's how I learned so much. Where's Will? So he left, maybe because he's already done a podcast with me. But I guess you guys, the thing that I want to tell you is that for me in my journey, it was like this real passion about saying, as an industry, I feel like I could bring my talents and I can help not only my company, but also this opportunity presented itself to help the industry as a whole through this apprenticeship. And it's taken me in places like you wouldn't believe. The Department of Labor appointed me an apprenticeship ambassador. I literally am tasked for 2 years talking with all of you and helping all of you. Okay, I have 2 minutes. Then the other thing I want to tell you is the relationships that you build when you are considering your company culture to put an apprenticeship in place is also about the connections that you make, like your workforce development agency, through which they just told me a couple of months ago, hey, we have these grants for training available. Do you want some free money? I'm like, hello. 2 hours, I got $15,000 from the state. 2 hours time to write 2 training grants that can be, this is no, I will tell you how to do this. If you invite me back, Amanda, it's just some other, or maybe a podcast. But again, what I'm doing is not just like, I'm not a super person. I'm just somebody who has a different skill set than maybe somebody else here in this room. But listen, it's not just for me, it's for our whole industry. So I'm telling you that these are the things that are possible, and it is going to help us all. Right, Lois?
That's a theory.
It helps us, it helps finding our niche. And again, you guys, like you heard me a couple of days, or it seems like a couple of days ago, I can't sleep at night. right? But I can sleep because I know that we have a lot of really dedicated, like-minded people, to use Matt, where are you? Your term, right? You got to find the people that you connect with that share the same mindset. In this organization, there's a lot of the same people, like-minded people, and working
Sorta.
together. Pardon?
Sorta.
She's my friend. Got to keep saying that. So, finding your niche, just don't be afraid. I know in the middle of the night I'm afraid, but in waking hours, we're not afraid, are we?
No.
We're not afraid. So it's okay to be afraid at night, because I was going to show you Tony Robbins and all these other platitudes, but you know them, you live them every day. But the struggle is real. We call each other in a panic sometimes. You should see our texts. They're just like bad to the bone. But we make it, we persevere, we make it, and we show up and we look like we know what we're doing.
Well, we do. We do know that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we really are night and day in the way that we approach our business, because I don't have a showroom. I don't have a fancy office. No one cares. In my work, they care about the work. They care about us showing up, and just the attitude. There's no Eeyores in my shop. I'm done with that.
I care. I'm just.
She cares, right?
How much time do we have? Do you want to keep going? We have 5 minutes. Okay, so let's see. What questions do you have? Should
We
open
have
it
a
up?
question for everybody because we're kind of curious.
Yeah. How'd you find your niche?
Yeah, and I belong to the AWI, and one of the interesting things I heard there was that 80% of the members of the AWI are second or third generation business owners. So when I wonder why am I slamming my head against the wall, I'm creating everything that I do. And that was a really interesting fact. So we kind of wanted to know how many people in here are mostly residential, and how many people are mostly commercial. So kind of eye-opening.
Yeah. And then we also want to know how many of you actually establish your own company. Okay. And again, it's different from how many of you are second generation or beyond. Okay?
Just a few.
Again, this whole presentation we were going to talk about is that everybody's experience is different. And finding your niche is something that's singular to you as the leader, to you and on your journey. And I know there are employees here. How many employees are here? Welcome. Awesome. It's kind of eye-opening to hear what bosses talk about, right? Right? And so I can tell you that a lot of time we talk about how great our employees are. We do have to, sadly do the other part, like Paul was talking about. And I would tell you, so like Lois and I were night and day, but I'm a form person. So that handbook, when you walk in, I've got like our mission statement, then I have our core values where it's basically like what you put out. And I have them by the time machine, and then I always ask them, hey, name me a core value, like at our monthly meetings, and like, I don't know. I'm like, all right, let's go out and let's look at it. Let's talk about it. It's that ritual, the repeating, the constant messaging that
And
takes place.
I would be nothing without my team. I mean, my friend who dropped out of college actually filled out my student loan forms, if that tells you anything about me. So I have somebody who does all that for me. I have my engineer here, Tom. I don't want to exist without those people. I can't, my lane is just where it is.
But you keep your eyes open to opportunity.
Oh yeah, answer the phone.
Yes, question.
Are the funds you're talking about state level, or is that available to everybody? Is it federal?
So that's a great question. The answer is there's two pots of money. There's federal money that comes from the federal government, and then every state might be different, but most states do have funds available. So I'm the person, I can connect you with the powers that be, and I can help you with it. And so I actually, that's a great question. And then if you hire, so right now the Department of Labor just launched a new program, which is youth apprenticeship. So I know that we have my colleagues from the National Woods Board, where we are in the process of replicating the great work that's going on at the mill in Colorado Springs to help again get CTE programs to train our next generation of worker. And so this, again, it's interesting to see how youth apprenticeship is just being launched now. And so this is like the golden age of apprenticeships. And so getting connected to the right people, at this point I feel like the Sherpa that can help people, and that's cool because again, that's how you find your niche and you stay in there.
Where do we find out information? Do we contact you? Is there a website?
Yes. So on my website, which is burkemillwork.com, the last page is about the woodwork manufacturing specialist apprenticeship. There is a webinar that I did for the CMA that is embedded on that page. It's Apprenticeship 101, which is the best part, and that is with my colleague Becky Caldwell from Jobs for the Future. They're the people that have money, federal money for you, okay? And then there is the podcast that I did with the CMA with Ken that's available wherever you get your podcasts. And then I also did a podcast for the Woodworking Network. So I think if you just like Google either my name or Woodwork Manufacturing Specialist Apprenticeship, you will find it. Or you can just email me. I'm Kelly@burkemillwork.com. Easy. Or I'm Kelly@BespokeClosets.us too. I've got 2 emails now. Yes.
I have a question for Lois. Just, are your relationships with the end user restaurant, the owners of the restaurant, the general contractors, or the architectural millwork designers and architects?
Where's my relationship start from?
Where's it starting from? Where are you getting these leads to go to these?
Well, my friend went to work for this company that did restaurants, so I did the first one. And then actually the restaurant that we just did, which was in the magazine, I got to know the owner of the restaurant group, or the president. And he said, I never want to do another one without you. And so there we are. But I show up, I'm somebody who shows up on the site. I can't sit in the office all the time. I kind of get a little antsy. So I think that it's helpful though to really stay connected and to be there. Because I think a lot of times people, you leave it to your PM and they might not have the same, we're small though, we're a small business. So right now, we got wiped out by Hurricane Ian, one of our biggest jobs. So we're actually running a skeleton crew at the moment until we start our next job. We're also doing 2 restaurants for trade winds out on St. Pete Beach. So we have that one coming up also. But again, it's keeping those relationships and just, keeping your word as much as possible. And if you can't keep your word, just say so, because we all understand that today, and actually it's never been easier to say, I'm going to be another week.
All right.
Kelly,
Yes, Monica with a K.
do you provide the students as well?
So you're asking about recruiting, I believe. So here's the deal. So if someone comes to you and you are thinking about them, either a new,
We want you
right?
to give
Yes. Okay. So I will tell you that I do get people all the time that contact me about the apprenticeship. And we already had one, our Logan was the first who in the country, and he finished the apprenticeship, and now we have the first female registered apprentice in it. So we're a small shop, we have less than 9 people, so we can't take on everybody. So there are times when I have emailed my sister millwork shops in the area saying, hey, if you're looking to hire somebody, here's this person who's looking. Unfortunately, Monica, I don't know anybody in Vancouver, but here's what I will tell you. Make your relationships with your workforce development agencies and with do they have community colleges in Canada? Yes, so make relationships there. And and by the way, the Canadian, Canada has a registered apprenticeship, which is different than this one, but they do value and they do have some great apprenticeships out there in woodworking.
I'll make their paperwork, just send them to Canada.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
All right, we're done. It's okay.
Thank you. You did great.
Thank you, Kelly and Lois. Those were great stories. My name is Pat Carrico. I am the Eastern Sales Manager for Revishelf. We are a proud sponsor of the CMA and appreciate the opportunity to be involved in your 25th anniversary conference. Revishelf was established in 1984 as a division of Jones Plastics and Engineering. It is a third-generation family-run business. It was started by twin brothers, Harry and Larry Jones. Little tidbit on them, they were running backs for the University of Kentucky under the legendary Bear Bryant. Their numbers were 1A and 1B. They started injection molding whiskey bottle caps, something dear to Kentuckians' hearts there. They then started injection molding appliance parts and custom polymer parts for about every major appliance manufacturer, as well as Toyota, Ford. They do parts for Yeti now, so they do a lot of variations. We have 6 manufacturing facilities in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Mexico. And we employ about 2,000 people now. Our product line began making polymer and metal Lazy Susan components. We now are a market leader in providing innovative, functional residential cabinet storage and convenience solutions for the total home. That includes kitchens, bathroom, closets, and in 2011, we acquired Tresco Lighting and have a complete line of LED under cabinet lighting. We take great pride in providing you, the cabinet maker, products that add value and ultimately sales dollars to your project. Lastly, we appreciate your business and loyalty over the last several years. Supply chain has been very difficult, but we've made it through it. We're shipping product on time and in complete. So thank you again, and I think we're gonna convene in about 5 minutes. Thank you.